Hey, what's up, guys? How many politicians does it take to change a light bulb? Two. One to change it and another one to change it right back. Well, what happens when you give a politician Viagra? He gets taller. Okay, so while you let that one sink in, don't worry. This isn't a message about presidential politics. But it is political in nature because I want to talk to you today about a ballot proposition in California that will impact rideshare companies and gives us a chance to think about the role of our own professional associations. My first job in real estate was at the Texas Association of Realtors when I was a senior in high school. And back then, one of my most important jobs was processing membership dues and helping collect bills that were unpaid. It was easy to collect unpaid bills because membership rules stated, as they still do, that if your broker was a member of the association, all agents sponsored by that broker also had to be members. So one letter to the broker reminding her that if the bills weren't paid, her membership and thus MLS access would be terminated was all it took. The agents paid up or were terminated, end of story. And then when I turned 18, I got my own license and started to pay dues myself. So technically, it was my choice to join the association, but if I wanted to participate in the MLS, membership was required, so it was really a false choice. Now further, we all know that I couldn't just join the local board. I had to join the local, state, and national associations at the same time. Now back then, this is just how it was and everyone accepted it. And once you were a member, serving on a committee was even considered a big honor. And there was very little vocal opposition to that system. But as time went on, I began to hear more agents questioning what the association did for them and why they had to be members at all. Now, in my opinion, because of its own growth, the real estate association system has had to learn how to communicate to new generations of members who by default question everything. And I think they've done a reasonable job. And frankly, when times are good economically, people just don't have time to question the system anyway. There's too much money to be made. And so for now, everything seems stable. But that's why California Proposition 22 has my attention. See, last year, California passed a law that would require rideshare companies to classify their drivers as employees. And like realtors, those drivers have always been independent contractors, and that's one reason the rideshare companies grew as fast as they did, drawing a sharp contrast between their way of business and traditional cab companies who operated with employees and unions. And I think they also expose the general public's lack of understanding of what it means to be an independent contractor and why someone would choose that professional lifestyle. Now anyway, the law has been put on hold by a court, and now we have Proposition 22. And if it passes, it would settle the issue and drivers would remain as independent contractors. But it would also require the companies to provide certain employee-style benefits, like health insurance subsidies, to drivers who log a certain number of hours. And it would prevent drivers from working longer than 12-hour shifts, which is also an employee-style regulation. Now, it's reported that over $500 million is being spent to persuade voters on just this one proposition, and $200 million of those dollars is coming from the rideshare companies themselves. And in the end, the citizens of California will decide in just a few days' time whether or not rideshare drivers get to remain independent contractors or not. And if not, I suppose the courts will eventually settle it. But what would it feel like if in a few days voters were going to decide if you'd become an employee? I mean, at least in this context, I'm feeling grateful for those who came before me and set up our association system. I mean, while it's not perfect, I think it's better than a union. And because it forces us to stick together, it probably has kept our status as independent contractors from being seriously challenged. Now, I didn't start this post with the intent to create an advertisement for realtor associations, but Proposition 22 in California gives us a chance to take a fresh look at our own opinions on how we might work to stay in control of our industry. I mean, after all, there are other parts of real estate that people want to challenge. I'm sure you've heard NAR is dealing with a class action lawsuit that challenges not just buyer agent commissions, but the entire cooperative nature of the MLS system. I mean, can you imagine if that was an issue that was settled by a ballot proposition? Anyway, I don't think that would go the way we would want it to. So what do you think? Does our association system need an overhaul? Should realtors be given health insurance subsidies by brokers and legally be prevented from working over 12 hours a day? Your clients would love that, wouldn't they? I mean, when you're new, it's natural to ignore this stuff and focus on building a steady flow of business. But at some point, you guys, you have to pay attention to your industry at large. So before you go, sound off in the comments and let me know what you think our association's role is today. And then make sure you get out there and vote this week and hold on to your faith that life will work everything out for the best. I gotta believe that, and I hope you do too. Well, you guys have a great week. My name is Jason Edwards. Let's get out there and think bigger.